Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to lecture 6 of our series of lectures about grammatical rules and systems. In this lecture we will talk a bit about the difference between form and function in grammar. So first of all, form is what the word, phrase or clause look like. So what a word looks like is called the word's form, or what a phrase looks like is called the phrase's form. So for example, if we have the term noun, this is the form of a word, okay? So we say that a word is a noun, this is its form. Verb, for example, is also a form. So a word that is a verb, this is what its form is called. Other examples are noun phrase, which we discussed in detail previously, verb phrase and relative clause. This is the form of a kind of clauses, and we will discuss clauses in the coming lectures, inshallah. The second distinction that we have here is function. So in grammar, function is the job. So what the word or phrase or clause does, its job, its work, what it does in the sentence. So for example, we have subject, which is the function that can be done by a noun phrase. As we discussed previously, noun phrases can be subjects. So a noun phrase is the form and subject is the function. Okay, so the function is what the word or phrase or clause does. Verb, for example, is also a function, but as you noticed above, it is also the form of a type of word, okay, or word class. This is because the real name for this function is predicator. As we said, simple sentences, one clause sentences, have a subject and a predicate. And in the predicate, the verb is called the predicator. But this function, predicator, can only be filled with a verb. So, as a way of simplifying things, to make things simple, we don't use predicator, we use verb for both the form and function. But we can also use predicator to indicate the function that the verb does in the clause. Other names of functions are direct object, which we discussed previously, complement, which we're going to discuss in this lecture, inshallah. So form, it is what the word or the phrase or the clause look like, and function is the job of the word, phrase or clause. Let's take a look at this exercise. Choose A if the given term refers to a form, and B if it refers to a function. So A for form, B for function. Number one, pronominal group. Is this a function? Is this a job that is done by the phrase or by a group of words that we call pronominal groups? We studied pronominal groups previously. We said something like we all. We all is a pronominal group. We have a pronoun and we have a post modifier, all. So we call this a pronominal group. Okay? So pronominal group is the name of the form, what the phrase or what this group of words look like. So number one is A, form. Number two, indirect object. Indirect object is a function, okay? And it can be filled by a noun phrase. We will take the functions of noun phrases in a bit. So indirect object is a function that can be done by the noun phrase. So the form is noun phrase, the function is indirect object. Okay, so number two is a function, B. Number three, complement. We will discuss complements in a bit, but these are not one of the forms of word classes. It is a function that is done by a word or a phrase or a clause. We call this a complement. So complement is a function. 3, the answer is B. Number 4, subject. As we discussed in the previous slide, we said that subject is the function that can be done by a noun phrase. Okay, so subject is a function. Number 4, the correct answer is B. Number 5, noun phrase. Noun phrase is a form. Okay, so a form, and noun phrases can do a number of different functions, including being the subject, being the object, indirect or direct object. So noun phrase is the form. So the correct answer for number 5 is A, form. Now we'll look at the function of the MP. MP, as you remember, is the abbreviation of noun phrase. So we will see the different functions of the noun phrase or MP. Number one, the first function is as the subject of a clause. So we mentioned before in lecture 4 that sentences need a subject in order to be complete. So simple sentences, one clause sentences need a subject to be complete, except for imperatives, as we discussed before, where the subject is unstated. When we say go study, in go study there is no subject. But in all other sentences we need a subject. Of course, in go study the subject is understood, but it is unstated. So you go study, there is still a subject that we can infer from the meaning. So the first function of the noun phrase is the subject. So for example here, the old man is here. The old man is the subject in this sentence. Okay, it is a nominal group. We have a head, which is man, and two modifiers, the and old, and all these three words function as one group. We call them nominal group, and it is a type of noun phrases, as you remember in our previous lecture. So the old man is a subject, so it is the subject of this simple clause of this one clause sentence. The second function of the noun phrase is the direct object of a verb. If you remember, we said that there are two kinds of verbs, transitive and intransitive. Transitive verbs require objects, okay, and these verbs, transitive verbs, can be even subdivided into monotransitive and ditransitive, as we explained in detail previously. So in monotransitive verbs, they take only one direct object, okay. So if we have a monotransitive verb, we will have an object with it. So for example, Ahmed finished his work. Ahmed finished his work. Finished is the verb here. It is monotransitive, and his work is a nominal phrase. Okay, so his work or nominal group, so it is a noun phrase, and it is the direct object of the verb finished. Okay, so his work is the direct object. We only have one object, and in this case it is the only possibility is that it is the direct object here. Okay, 3. The third function is the indirect object of a verb. Some transitive verbs require two objects, and if you remember, these are called ditransitive verbs. They take a direct object and an indirect object. So in this case, when we have two objects, we need to decide which one is the direct object and which one is the indirect object. For example, he gave Khalid a book, and the shopkeeper sold him some snacks. Okay, so in these two sentences we have two objects. In the first one, he gave Khalid a book. Gave is the verb. We have two objects, Khalid and a book. Okay, so one of them is the indirect object and one of them is the direct object. To make things simpler, we can restate, reword, or rephrase this sentence to make it look like this. He gave a book to Khalid. Okay, so in this case, the noun phrase that comes directly after the verb is the direct object. So gave a book to, okay, and the noun phrase that comes with to is the indirect object. All right, so Khalid is the indirect object and a book is the direct object. So this is a way to make things simpler, but it doesn't work every time. Some sentences you can't do this. You can't say he gave Khalid a book. You can't change it to make it look like this. Gave a book to Khalid. Okay, but in a number of sentences, a great number of sentences, you can do that. In the next example, the shopkeeper sold him some snacks. We can reword this. We can rephrase it to look like this: sold some snacks to him. The shopkeeper sold some snacks to him. In this case, snacks or some snacks, which is a nominal group, some snacks is the direct objects, him is the indirect object. Okay, so we in the shopkeeper sold him some snacks, him is the indirect object and some snacks is the direct object. The fourth function of the noun phrase is the complement of the subject plus be. As you know, be, verb to be, consists of is, am, are, was, where. It is realized in the sentence in the form of these verbs. Okay, so verb to be is, am, are, was, and where, and of course been in the past participle. A complement, we will define complement here. We mentioned it a few times previously in this lecture. Now we will see the definition of a complement. A complement is a word or phrase or clause. It can be either word or phrase or clause. All three are possible to be complements. That completes, it completes the meaning of another word, phrase or clause. Okay, so the function of the complement is a function, and this function is the completion of meaning. So without a complement, another word or phrase or clause will be incomplete. Okay, the meaning will not be complete. So it is necessary for the meaning to be complete that we have a complement. Okay, so a complement is necessary for the meaning to be complete. We will look at another distinction in the next lecture, which is a function that is not necessary. Okay, but we will talk about it in the next lecture. In this lecture, just remember that complements are necessary and they complete the meaning of another phrase or word or clause when we talk about noun phrases. Okay, so a complement noun phrase is a phrase that completes the meaning of another word, phrase or clause. For example, Ahmed is my friend. My friend is a noun phrase, or my best friend. My best friend is a noun phrase. Okay, it is a nominal group, a type of noun phrases, and in this case it is a complement. So how can we tell it is a complement? Because it is necessary for the completion of the meaning. We need this for the meaning to be complete. We can't say Ahmed is, full stop. Okay, we can't just end the sentence with Ahmed is. We need something more. Alright, so it completes both the subject and the verb to be is. So without my best friend, the sentence will be incomplete, the meaning is incomplete, and the sentence will be ungrammatical. Okay, we can't say that, and the sentence will remain grammatical. Okay, we can't drop the MP here and the sentence will remain grammatical. No, we can't do that. So Ahmed is my best friend. My best friend is the complement of the subject Ahmed, and the verb to be is. We have a point to note here. When the complement is a noun, it must agree with the subject in number and gender. So you have the subject and you have the complement. Both of them need to agree in number and gender. You remember number and gender, we discussed them before. Number is like, you know, plural, singular, gender, male, female, and neuter. So the subject must agree, must have the same number and gender as the complement in this case. So if the complement is a noun, the subject, and we have a subject, they both have to agree in number and gender. In the case of complement of subject plus be, of course. So look at this example. Ahmed is their uncle. You notice that the subject is singular and their uncle is singular. Ahmed is male and their uncle is male. Okay, we can't say Ahmed is their uncles. Why? Because Ahmed is singular and uncles is plural, so they both have to be singular. Okay, or we can't say Ahmed is their aunt, because aunt is the name of a male and aunt refers to female, so they must both agree in number and gender. Look at the next example. Sarah and Huda are their aunts. Okay, we can't say Sarah and Huda are their aunt, because Sarah and Huda is plural. We have two persons, so Sarah and Huda are plural, so we need to use aunts with them. You need to use a plural complement because it is a noun phrase here. We can't say uncles. Sarah and Huda are their uncles, because Sarah and Huda refer to females and uncles refer to males. Okay, so we need to use aunts in this case. So again, if we have a subject and we have a verb to be and we have a complement that is a noun phrase, a complement of the subject plus verb to be, the noun phrase must agree with the subject in both gender and number. The full verb be in this example only serves to join the subject and the complement together. So if you notice, the job of the verb to be, it is a full verb here, it is not a helping verb, there is no other verb in these sentences. Its job is to join, okay, it's to connect both the subject and the complement. It's like a link between the subject and the complement. So in this case we call the verb to be a copula. Copula means something that joins things together, something that links things together. So the full verb be, like is, am, are, was, were, in this case is called copula. Okay, we call it a copula. There are other copulas in English other than the verb to be, the main verb to be. For example, the verbs become and seem can also be used as copulas. We will not take examples here about this in this course, but you should know that there are other copulas other than the verb to be. Okay. Now we move on to the next function of the noun phrase, which is the complement of the object. As you remember, a complement is something necessary. It is necessary for the meaning, it completes the meaning. So look at this example. He found Faisal. We have a subject, he, we have a verb, found, and we have an object, okay, direct object, Faisal. But the meaning is not complete, okay? When we say he found Faisal, and we mean something like he thinks of Faisal, or he believes that Faisal is this and that, the meaning is not complete in this case, okay? We're not saying that he found Faisal, that Faisal was lost and he went and found him. No, this is not the meaning conveyed in this sentence. The meaning that we convey by found in this case is that the person thinks, the person believes that Faisal a good student. Okay, so he found Faisal a good student. He found Faisal a good student. He believes that Faisal is a good student. He believes that he is, and he thinks that he is a good student. Okay, so in this case, a good student is the complement of the object, because without it, the meaning will not be complete. So the meaning of the object will not be complete without the noun phrase a good student. To state what we said here again, in the previous example, the noun phrase a good student is the complement of the direct object Faisal. Okay. Here, to make the meaning clear further, or to further clarify the meaning of what we just said, we will compare a few examples. So compare the examples in A and B below. Look at A. The teacher found Faisal a book. Okay, and look at B. The teacher found Faisal a good student. These sentences might look similar, but they are very different. Okay, in the first case, we can rephrase, we can reword the sentence in A. Instead of saying the teacher found Faisal a book, we can say the teacher found a book for Faisal. Okay, so the teacher went and looked for a book to give to Faisal. In the next case, in B, in this example, the teacher found Faisal a good student. The way that we can reword this sentence is different from A. So we can't say the teacher found a good student for Faisal. He didn't go look for a good student and gave the good student to Faisal. No, this is not what we mean. We can reword it in this way. We say the teacher found Faisal to be a good student. Okay, he thinks of Faisal as a good student, and we explain this here. So in example A, Faisal is an indirect object. So in example A, Faisal is, please add is to this. So in example A, Faisal is. Faisal is an indirect object, and a book is a direct object. So Faisal is the indirect object, and a book is the direct object. He gave a book to Faisal. Okay, he gave Faisal a book. The sentence means that the teacher looked for a book and gave it to Faisal. Okay, he looked for a book to give to Faisal. In example B, Faisal is a direct object, so we only have one direct object here in B. So Faisal is a direct object, and a good student is a complement. Okay, a good student is a complement. As we said, the meaning of the sentence is that the teacher thinks that Faisal is a good student. The sixth function of the noun phrase is the object of a preposition. So a noun phrase can be an object of a preposition. We said that it can be the object of the sentence and it can be an object of a preposition, or the object of the verb and an object of a preposition. So you know prepositions already, but in case you forgot, prepositions are words like in, on, of, and off. Okay, so these words are followed normally by a noun phrase. Okay, so a noun phrase comes after these words, and the noun phrase that follows a preposition is called the object of the preposition. Okay, so the noun phrase is the form, object of the preposition is the function. So if a noun phrase comes after the preposition, it serves the function of the object of the preposition. For example, we are in the same class. In is the preposition, the same class is the noun phrase. And both of them, in and the same class, are called prepositional phrase. We will discuss this later. The same class, of course, is the object of the preposition. Okay, so the same class is the object of the preposition in. He walked on a high platform. A high platform is a noun phrase. On is a preposition. You notice the noun phrase came after the preposition, and it serves or functions as the object. Okay, so here it is the object of the preposition on. A high platform is the object of the preposition on. So this is just restating what I just said. In the two examples, the noun phrases, the same class and the high platform function as the objects of the prepositions in and on, respectively. The seventh function of the noun phrase is the appositive. Okay, so an appositive to another noun phrase. We will define appositive here. So an appositive is a noun phrase, MP, that describes the same person or thing as another noun phrase that came before it. So we have two noun phrases, one after the another, or one after the other. So two noun phrases, one after the other, and they both refer to the same person. So there is nothing between the noun phrases. There is no and or but or anything. They come right after each other, and they refer to the same person or the same thing. And the second noun that comes after the first one is called the appositive. Okay, because it is in opposition to the first noun phrase. Let's look at the example. Your friend Ahmed Al-Ali is here. Okay, so your friend is an MP, so this is the first MP, and then Ahmed Al-Ali is another MP, so this is the second MP. They both came right after each other, and they both refer to the same person. So Ahmed Al-Ali, your friend, we are talking about the same person here. So Ahmed Al-Ali here is an appositive, and it is in opposition to your friend. Okay, so the MP Ahmed Al-Ali is an appositive. It is in opposition, we say in opposition, okay, to your friend. And please notice that there is a difference between opposition with an O and opposition with an A. Okay, opposition is the grammatical function that we mentioned here. Opposition is different. Opposition means opposite, so something that is opposite to another thing. Okay, so there is a difference, and please note that the grammatical function starts with an A, opposition. In the previous example, just restating what I just said, Ahmed Al-Ali is an appositive. It is in opposition to the noun phrase your friend. Both MPs, your friend and Ahmed Al-Ali, describe the same person. Okay, we will talk more about opposition, including opposition types, in the next lecture, inshallah. Exercise, we have this small exercise here to do it. So choose the correct function for the underlined MPs. Okay, so we have a number of MPs that are underlined in the next sentences. We have 7 sentences here, and you need to choose what is the function. Okay, so A is the function subject. Is it B, object? Regardless of direct, indirect, object or preposition. If it is an object, choose B. Okay, so if it is a direct object, you choose B. If it is an indirect object, you choose B. If it is an object of a preposition, as we mentioned, you choose B as well. C, complement. okay, whether it is the complement of subject plus be or the complement of an object, okay, as we discussed previously. So you just choose C if it is a complement. And finally the appositive. So two nouns that come after each other and refer to the same person. If this is what we have, if the second noun is underlined, you choose D, appositive. Number 1, his father gave him some important advice. His father gave him some important advice. Okay, so what is the function of this noun phrase? Some important advice. What do you think? Here we have his father, which is a subject, and gave, which is a verb, and then him something. He gave him something. Okay, so some important advice is an object of the verb gave. Okay, and also him is an object of the verb gave. So we have two objects here. One of them is direct and one of them is indirect. So the thing that is being given is, or that had been given in the past, is some important advice. Okay, so some important advice is the direct object, and him is the indirect object, which is the person that the advice had been given to. Okay, so his father gave him some important advice. We can rephrase this to say his father gave some important advice to him. Okay, if you remember, we can rephrase sentences like this to show exactly where what is the direct object and what is the indirect object. So some important advice is an object and it is the direct object. Okay, we don't need to state whether it is direct or indirect. We just choose B because it is an object. So the answer for number 1 is B. Number 2, Ahmed's uncle lives in Riyadh. Ahmed's uncle lives in Riyadh. So the noun phrase is Ahmed's uncle, and we have the verb lives. Of course, a sentence needs a subject and a predicate, and in this case the subject of course is an MP, so subjects are MPs, and the MP here comes before the verb and it serves as the subject. So Ahmed's uncle is the subject. Okay, so this is an easy one. So number 2 is A, subject. Number 3, Ahmed's uncle is a successful businessman. So what is this? Is this a subject? No, we have a subject which is Ahmed's uncle. So this is not the subject. Is it an object? So is this the object of the verb to be? Is, or is it a complement or an appositive? Of course it's not appositive. It's not. We don't have the two noun phrases coming after each other, and they do not refer to the same person. So appositive is eliminated. So we are left with object and complement. And of course, as we said, if we have the subject and the verb to be, we need a complement after it. Okay, so Ahmed's uncle is, we need a complement after is, and in this case it is this noun phrase, a successful businessman. We can't say Ahmed uncle is and full stop. Okay, so this is necessary to complete, okay, to complete the meaning. So it is necessary to complete the meaning, and this is why we call it a complement. Okay, so a complement of the subject plus verb to be. Number 4, Khalid has a lot of books in his room. Okay, we have his room, and this is a noun phrase, of course, and you notice before the noun phrase we have in, which is a preposition, and as we said, if we have a noun phrase that comes after a preposition, the function of this noun phrase is the object of a preposition. Okay, so in this case the correct answer for number 4 is B, object of a preposition. It is an object, so we choose B. Number 5, the teacher gave the students exercises. Okay, so here we have the teacher, which is a subject, gave, which is a verb, the students, which is we will say what it is a bit, exercises. We have two noun phrases here. The students is a nominal group, exercises is a noun. So we have two nouns, and each of them is the argument of the verb gave. Okay, so he gave exercises to students. So we have two noun phrases, and they are both objects of the verb gave. Okay, so they're both objects of the verb gave. That means that the underlined noun phrase is an object. If you want to know whether it is direct or indirect, as we stated before, it is we can rephrase it to the teacher gave exercises to the students. So exercises is the direct object, the students is the indirect object. So in 5, the students is the object. In number 6, my brother Saleh studies at King Faisal University. So my brother Saleh, here we have my brother and we have Saleh. My brother is a noun phrase, Saleh is a noun phrase. Okay, my brother is a nominal group, if you remember, a type of noun phrases. Saleh is a noun, it is a proper noun, and it is a type of noun phrases. So we have two noun phrases, they came right after each other, and they both refer to the same person. So Saleh refers to the same person as my brother. So the speaker's brother is called Saleh. So Saleh and my brother both refer to the same person, they came right after each other, and the noun that is underlined is thus called an appositive. Appositive because it is a noun phrase that came right after another noun phrase, and it refers to the same person as the first noun phrase. Okay, so the answer for number 6 is D, appositive. Number 7, the manager found him a hard-working employee. So we need to know that what the noun phrase a hard-working employee does in this sentence. What is its function? So is the meaning of this sentence that the manager went and looked for a hard-working employee and gave it to the person here, him? No, this is not the meaning in this sentence. This is not what we mean. The manager found him a hard-working employee. It means that the manager thinks that this person is a hard-working employee. Okay, he believes that this person is a hard-working employee. So in this case, a hard-working employee is not an object. Okay, so it is not an object. So we only have one object in this case, him, and it is a direct object, only one object, of course. A hard-working employee is a complement. It completes the object. Okay, so he found him a hard-working employee. We can restate this to say he found him to be a hard-working employee. All right, so a hard-working employee is a complement. So this is it for today's lecture. We will continue inshallah in the next lecture. We will go back to apposition, and we will talk also a little bit about prepositional phrases. So I will see you in the next lecture inshallah. Thank you for listening.